This may seem like a strange question, but if you were to create a Smurf avatar that represented how you handle conflict, what would you name it? Hello, my friends. Jeffrey Shaw here from Grow to Your Potential. Like many from my generation, I grew up watching the Smurfs Saturday mornings and even had a few Smurf toys of my own. The Smurfs were such adorable little creatures, each one with a unique attribute or behavioral style from which they received their name. One of my favorites was Jokey Smurf, who could always be found playing practical jokes on unexpected other Smurfs. Then there's Grouchy Smurf, who you would find complaining about something no matter how good things were. Hefty Smurf, who liked to show off his muscular prowess, and who could forget the know-it-all Brainy Smurf, and the many others. A few years back, I was quite excited to see the return of the Smurfs in a couple new movies that allowed me to share a blast from my past with my children. At this point, you may be asking, what do the Smurfs have to do with conflict management? And how does looking at Smurfs help us grow to our potential? Those are great questions, and I'm happy to answer them for you. As I was planning for the next portion of this series, as we shift from communication into exploring the role of behavioral styles in conflict, a character from one of those Smurf movies came to mind. The one and only passive-aggressive Smurf. He is referenced ever so briefly in the 2011 movie when one of the Smurf describes him as a really nice Smurf when you're with him, but then when he leaves, you always feel bad. The description of this Smurf really captivated my family and has been referenced many times over the years since. As I was preparing for these next sessions with you and thinking about how people handle conflict differently in accordance with their behavioral styles, passive-aggressive Smurf came to mind. This got me wondering, could I come up with Smurf avatars to represent how the different behavioral styles handled conflict? As each of my family members has a different style, I took the challenge to them as well to see what we could come up with together. It took a moment to get those creative juices flowing, but once names started to flow, we had a great time seeing what each other could come up with. If you would like to know what Smurf avatars we created, you'll just have to wait until next week when I reveal the first ones. Until then, I invite you to think of how you handle conflict and what you would name your Smurf avatar. As you do so, I encourage you to include your family, as I did, and share a few laughs together. Once you've decided on your Smurf avatar, I hope you will share it with me, as I love to hear what you come up with. As you try to name your Smurf, if you find yourself struggling, just remember that although people are different, we are predictably different. And you can see this in the Smurfs. Take Jokey Smurf, for example. How do you think he would handle a problem or conflict? Based on his behavioral style, could you see him taking time to think deeply about the issue and engage another Smurf in a serious conversation to work out the problem? Probably not. Or would you expect him to try and distract himself from the problem by giving another Smurf a gag gift that blows up in their face? How about Hefty Smurf? Can you see him approaching a problem with humor? Or would he use his muscles and try to find a way to just power his way through the problem? As you look at each of the Smurfs, you will see trends in their behavior that influences how they will handle conflict. The same is true for us. We are all wired uniquely with different gifts and abilities, strengths and weaknesses, all of which influence our behavioral style and how we respond to conflict. It's through learning about a behavioral style that we can begin to understand how we handle conflict, what triggers us to behave in a counterproductive manner, and what we can do differently to move through the conflict in a healthy way. Additionally, learning about behavioral styles will help us understand others, how they handle conflict, and what their triggers may be. From there, it's only a matter of putting this knowledge into practice to enhance and modify our behavior, to maximize our potential to engage in healthy conflict with those around us, while avoiding the triggers that lead to unhealthy conflict that we would rather avoid. I hope you will join me in the coming weeks as we explore the 4 styles of DISC behavioral analysis and put faces to how they handle conflict differently as we create Smurf avatars for each of the 4 styles. I look forward to seeing you again next week as you continue to grow to your potential.